Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that frankly doesn't get talked about nearly enough. We are unpacking a hidden, aerosolized threat that specifically targets adults over 60. It's called hantavirus. We're going to look at exactly how it operates completely under the radar, and more importantly, walk through the essential safety guidelines you absolutely need to know to protect yourself.
To really understand why we're talking about this, we need to look at the data from the CDC. The case fatality rate for hantavirus pulmonary syndrome, which is the severe respiratory form of this infection, sits anywhere between 38 and 50%. I mean, that is a staggering number, right? That statistic alone tells you exactly why we need to understand how this virus spreads, especially if you fall into a more vulnerable age bracket.
So here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with part 1, a quiet, deadly threat. Then 2, how hantavirus attacks. 3, the timeline of infection. 4, real-world hantavirus cases. And finally, part 5, which you won't want to miss, 5 essential prevention steps that could literally save a life.
All right, let's jump right into section 1, a quiet, deadly threat.
So what actually is hantavirus? Basically, it's an RNA virus that's carried primarily by the deer mouse. It's what we call zoonotic, meaning it jumps from animals to humans. But the crazy thing is, it's completely asymptomatic in the mice themselves. They show zero signs of being sick. Transmission to us usually happens through inhalation. When infected mice leave behind droppings or urine in an enclosed space, the viral particles bind to the dust. Then they become aerosolized, literally floating completely undetected in the air, especially in cool, dry places like your cabin or backyard shed.
Moving on to section 2, how hantavirus attacks.
To understand how this works inside the body, I really love this analogy from the research. Imagine your body is a bustling city. The virus acts like a tiny, stealthy criminal slipping right through the ventilation shaft. It entirely bypasses your upper respiratory checkpoints, gets inhaled directly into your deep pulmonary system, and then systematically hijacks the endothelial cells that line your blood vessels.
Now, you might be wondering, why are we focusing so heavily on age? Well, age is a critical variable here. Research from Johns Hopkins shows that adults over 65 experience a 30 to 40% drop in something called mucociliary clearance. Think of that as your lungs' natural broom that sweeps foreign particles out. Combine that slower broom with an immune response that's only firing at about 40% efficiency, and older adults just have a significantly higher probability that these inhaled silent particles will reach deep into their lung tissue.
Let's look at section 3, the timeline of infection.
Once it's in the lungs, the timeline is terrifyingly stealthy. It happens in 3 distinct phases. First up is an incubation period lasting anywhere from 1 to 8 weeks. This is a totally silent, completely asymptomatic window. You wouldn't even know you were exposed. Then comes a 3 to 5 day prodromal phase, bringing severe flu-like symptoms as the virus rapid fires and starts damaging your blood vessels. Finally, between days 4 and 10, the cardiopulmonary phase hits. Pulmonary edema, which means fluid rapidly flooding the lungs, takes over. This severe lack of oxygen can lead to complete respiratory failure in just 24 to 48 hours.
Which brings us to section 4, real-world hantavirus cases, because this isn't just some theoretical lab concept. Public health records show us exactly how everyday, totally normal activities can trigger outbreaks. Take Yosemite back in 2012. Minor structural issues in tent cabins led to 10 infections and 3 tragic fatalities. Or in Washington State in 2020, where just cleaning out an agricultural barn resulted in an 18-day ICU stay and permanent lung damage for one patient. And biologically, we're watching new strains really carefully. A 2019 outbreak in Argentina saw 29 cases and 11 deaths, actually showing human-to-human transmission, which is currently unique to the Andes strain.
All right, let's get to the most important part of today. Section 5, 5 essential prevention steps. Kicking off our countdown at step 5.
The property rodent audit. Listen, before you even step foot into enclosed spaces like an old shed or a stored vehicle, open the doors and ventilate that area for at least 30 minutes. Let that air clear out the aerosolized concentrations. Then, audit the space for droppings, gnaw marks, or a really distinct musty odor. And get this, studies show roughly 12% of deer mice in the American Southwest actively carry the virus. Oh, and because respiratory distress can hit so fast if you're exposed, you should always complete this audit with a buddy. Never go in alone.
Moving right along to step 4. Suit up, because proper PPE is absolutely non-negotiable here. A standard cloth mask or a flimsy surgical mask is not going to cut it against these viral particles. You need an N95 respirator with a tight facial seal, nitrile gloves, and either a Tyvek suit or dedicated work clothes that you wash immediately in hot water. Seriously, think of this proper PPE as a $20 shield protecting you against an infection that routinely ends in a $10,000 a day ICU bill.
Down to step 3. This is a huge one. The wet cleaning protocol. Do not, under any circumstances, dry sweep or vacuum mouse droppings. All that does is forcefully launch the deadly pathogen straight into the air you're breathing. Instead, follow the CDC's wet cleaning method. Saturate the entire area with a bleach solution. That's 1.5 cups of bleach to a gallon of water. Let it soak for a good 5 minutes. Then, pick up the mess with paper towels, double bag it, and toss it in a covered bin. This one simple change cuts your aerosolized exposure risk by 90%.
Number 2 on our list. Know your ER trigger symptoms. If you develop specific symptoms within 1 to 8 weeks of potential exposure, you need to head to emergency care immediately. We are looking for a fever over 101 degrees, severe muscle aches, specifically localized to your thighs and lower back, and a rapid progressive shortness of breath. And this is crucial. You must advocate for yourself. Loudly and explicitly tell the ER doctor about your recent rodent exposure so they test for hantavirus right away. Early recognition is the only way you get fast-tracked to advanced life support systems, like ECMO, which can literally mean the difference between life and death.
And finally, our number 1 prevention step.
Talk to your primary care physician. Believe it or not, clinical data shows that less than 8% of adults over 65 ever discuss zoonotic risks with their doctor. Before you even think about tackling a barn cleanup, have a chat with your PCP. Evaluate your immune baseline, check if any current meds, like corticosteroids, might be suppressing your immune system, and formally flag your chart for exposure risk. Setting this baseline out proactively is your ultimate defense if you ever do need priority diagnostic testing.
Understanding the reality of how hantavirus works and actively applying these 5 safety protocols empowers you to totally mitigate the risks of environmental exposure. The science is absolutely clear here, and the prevention methods are proven to work. So the only question left is, will you step into the dark unprotected, or will you take control of your longevity today? Thanks for tuning in, and please share this with anyone who might find themselves cleaning out an old shed this season. Stay safe out there.